What is up, guys? Welcome on back to TK's Garage. And Ford's CEO is pro-tariff? Wait a minute. I saw GM complaining about the tariffs. Ford was the first to jump in on employee pricing. But he just did an interview with Laura Ingraham over on Fox News that I think you guys should 100% see.
For the longest time, whoa, for the longest.
Yo, Percocet, Miley Percocet, Miley Percocet, represent, gotta represent.
So welcome on back to TK's Garage. So Jim Farley, the CEO of Ford, literally just talked about tariffs, went into detail on why they think, or why he thinks, this is a good thing for Ford and the industry and the auto industry in the United States as a whole. Let's roll the clip.
President and CEO of the great Ford Motor Company. Jim, thank you so much for being with us tonight. Now, we're seeing a difference in how automakers are responding to these tariffs. GM told Fox Business it's ramping up production in the U.S., several hundred temporary workers. Stellantis, though, laying off 900. Which way is Ford going?
Well, thank you, Laura, for having me on. First of all, we build more vehicles in the U.S. than any other brand. We export more, and we have more factory workers. So we never left the U.S., and our plan is really simple: to offer employee pricing, basically the price I pay or anyone at the company pays for all Americans. We believe this is a moment for Ford to differentiate itself, for us to really highlight the American car industry at a moment when it's being discussed in media like yourself, Laura. And we think this is our opportunity to gain some business.
Jim, the Chinese auto company BYD is dominating the market now in Australia, one of our strong allies. So President Trump was obviously very annoyed by the fact that our cars don't get into the markets, even in countries that are our allies, military allies, economic partners. So will these tariffs, in your view, help make that situation more competitive abroad for Ford?
Well, we're really thrilled to engage in the White House in a serious discussion about fair trade. And the Chinese are now the largest exporter of automobiles in our industry. And that's a very recent phenomenon. For example, over 20% of the vehicles sold in Mexico are built in China. So this is an incredibly important topic. We're very grateful for the president's leadership and the chance to work with his administration to compete on a fair playing field, which these tariffs, especially those coming from China and also other trading partners, as you mentioned, to really put us on an equal footing so we can compete on our home market in a fair way.
I know, Jim, we talked about this at the open of the show, but it's not just the tariffs that put American manufacturers at an unfair disadvantage. It's the massive subsidies, the market manipulation, the stealing of intellectual property. There's so many different things that give these industries in other countries, whether it's steel or aluminum, automobile, pharmaceuticals. So this is a broader look at a big problem that's developed really over the last 30 plus years, is it not?
I've been in the industry for 40 years, Laura. I've seen this play out for 4 decades, whether it's non-tariff barriers or tax policy in those countries. You know, we see all of the fair and unfair ways that our competition plays globally. They know how important auto is to jobs in their country, and they are going to do everything they can to help those competitors. And it's high time for us in our country to get serious. Now, we have to work out the details with the administration, and we're doing that. but I'm very encouraged that that we will have a better chance for a fair and square fight for the biggest fight we've ever seen in the auto industry in 40 years.
Jim, what about the auto parts that Ford needs to assemble the most vehicles in the United States, as you said? A lot of those are made in other countries. Will these tariffs have an effect on you in that regard and then hike prices up?
I'm really glad you asked this question, because this is really the essential point of working closely with our leaders in DC on the details, because the details matter greatly. You know, we have thousands of parts in our American-made vehicles, and we want to keep them as affordable as possible.
So, guys, what do you guys think about that? I got to be honest. I was not expecting to see that from Jim Farley, but I will say this. He did make a couple of caveats, right? He did say that he wants to work with the administration on wiring looms and some of the other stuff that he will have to pay tariffs on in terms of auto parts. Those parts that are made in Mexico and Canada because of the USMCA would be exempt. You wouldn't pay on those parts. But some of those specialized parts that Ford is using, which is made in China, they're going to have to pay tariffs on. Now, should that drastically increase the price of a car? Not really. And if Ford is making more sales because it's 25% cheaper to buy a Ford than it is, say, Range Rover, who just suspended shipments to the U.S., or BMW, or hell, even General Motors in a lot of cases. Like the Chevy Trax is a disaster. Like right now, comparing a Trax with a Ford Escape, granted not the same vehicle, cheaper to buy a Ford Escape than a Trax with that 25% tariff. So, or the EcoSport or some of the other crap that Ford sells in the cheap throwaway SUV market. I have to be honest here. I really was surprised to hear the stuff that Farley was saying coming out of his. I thought he would be like, yes, we are pro tariff, but I wish we could do things, X, Y, and Z way. And I am kind of like, I get it. It was like, I understand. I get where he's coming from. I just didn't expect him to be so pro tariff, where Elkin isn't begging at Stellantis, is no longer begging the Trump administration for waivers. He's just trying to figure out, how do we not go bankrupt? And right now, with the stock price crashing, tomorrow is going to be a huge indicator on what happens with Stellantis. If that stock goes to $8, $7, you're already seeing, and there's articles, there'll be a video you guys will probably see tomorrow that I already shot about Jim Cramer and how bad some of these investor gurus are talking about Stellantis now, and they're all talking about bankruptcy, or are they splitting off the American brands? Where have you heard that before? There's just so much stuff coming because of these tariffs. And I think you're going to see a little bit of a rebound in the market on Monday. But you're going to see some of the auto stocks take a beating. Except Tesla, Ford, those companies that are going to ramp up sales because they're not paying tariffs like Stellantis is. Now, Stellantis could get away with the parts and stuff, with engines and stuff like that, because of USMCA. But importing the frames, importing the trucks from Mexico is not going to work. And that's why I'm wondering, there's a lot of things going on with downtime at Warren right now. We're hearing that the Wagoneer plant at Warren Assembly is going to be idled. And I'll have a separate video on that, because I think there's some other stuff at play here when it comes to why they're idling that plant. They're making some measurements and trying to see how fast they could retool for the 2500 and 3500. But more on that in a separate video. Anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Were you shocked at what the Ford CEO said? Because I was. Anyways, give the video a big thumbs up if you like what I do. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Go check out tksgarage.com if you want to get one of these dope lids. And until next time, stay petty, my friends. Now I got to go get my bum knee ass out of this car and go unplug my car so I can go about my day. But can't complain. 15 minutes to sit here every 3 days and drive my car for free. I know that there's somebody at a protest somewhere mad at me. I gotta stop being a troll, man. Whoopee!